a way. We have interoperable radios, so that allows the police, fire, and corrections to all communicate when we have an emergency. So that's generally the way that we do it. Generally during emergencies, I'm not directing what our responses are, because I hire a police chief, a fire chief, and a chief of corrections to be professionals and to do what is necessary for a best-in-class city. Now, where I come in really is, one, making sure that sound judgments are being made, communicating directly to the public and being honest and telling them what I know, and being the sole voice for the government of the city of Atlanta, so that people can take direction from me, because in emergencies, folks look to me to share information. The news media covers me during emergencies, but that information generally is coming from people who work for me, who are professionals at dealing with emergencies. So, for example, our fire chief was the fire chief for the United States of America. So he was confirmed by the United States Senate. He was an appointee of the President of the United States. And I recruited him from that job and got him to come back to Atlanta to be our fire chief. So he actually knows a little more about responding to emergencies than me. So I really let him do his job and make sure that he has the resources that are necessary to do that. And so if you look at what I've done as mayor, I've invested more money in police and fire than anybody who's ever had this job. Because that's what good leaders want. What leaders want is the ability to do their jobs. So, the city of Atlanta today has more than 1,900 police officers. It's the most officers they've ever had. The fire department is at full staff, which is the first time that's been the case in 15 years. So in the event that there is an emergency, those are the first responders that are on the front lines, if you will, and they operate at my command.
I know there's some concept for figuring out people that don't have air conditioning in their houses. Does the city provide safe places for people to stay when weather's like stormy, like floods or hurricanes?
We do. Certainly when during the summers, when temperatures are very hot, people don't have air, we routinely give away hundreds of fans and provide what are called cooling stations. So if people are in a home where they don't have air conditioning, we will set up cooling stations or provide them fans at no cost. And we typically give away hundreds of those every single year. Less so in storms. But if we have a tough storm event, we'll use our city's recreation centers and then convert those, because they're large facilities with heat and air in them. And we'll convert those when we have emergencies.
Somebody next. I know everybody has questions. Jacob,
All right.
Indigo.
Thank you so much.
No, okay. No.
Okay.
She says she has one.
All right.
If there was an extreme tornado like the one in 2008, what would be your first course of action?
Well, one would be to use all of the weather apparatus that we have at Artsville Jackson and through the local media would be to communicate with the public to inform people that it's coming and how bad it is and what I think is going to happen. And then I would probably set up a joint operations center, probably 2 blocks from here. It's called the Unified Command, where the police, firefighters, and corrections all work in a unified fashion. And that's to make sure that traffic flows properly, that our seniors and young people who may need ambulance services that we keep the roads clear so that ambulances can continue to run if it's a snow event or a weather event. So we really do staff up and run out of a joint command center, which is probably 2 blocks away, until the storm event or weather event has passed. And I'm typically there during that time.
Are you yourself prepared for any natural disasters to come?
Well, I think I'm pretty prepared because I've got 1,900 police officers that focus on making sure that I'm safe. And then I have a group. It's called Executive Protection. It's responsible for my personal protection. And then when we have emergencies, I'm typically with them because I have to move in and out of the city and be available on a 24-hour basis. So I'm guarded 24 hours a day. And there's a police officer within 3 to 5 minutes from me at all times. So even when I'm in my home sleeping, there's a police car outside of my door. And in the event of an emergency, that officer will wake me up or come into my home.
If someone was stuck in traffic during a flood, could you help them, and if so, how?
The answer is yes, because we just invested in new boats and we have personnel that are specifically trained for surging water and rapid flood events under Chief Cochran.
Why is it important to support random residents who storm when citizens are properly prepared?
Because unfortunately, everybody doesn't properly prepare. And what I have a responsibility to do is to be as much as a safety net for the people who aren't prepared and who are vulnerable. And so that's what I try to do with the police department and the fire department for. It's really to be a safety net. 85 to 90% of the people will hear about a weather event, will take appropriate precautions, and will stay off the roads and stay at home. But there are always some folks that want to test things, and then when things go awry, they want help. And in Atlanta, I represent that help because I have the biggest police department, the biggest fire department in the state. Yes.
What are best things to do when you're in any kind of disaster?
Well, it changes from disaster to disaster. The best thing to do is when you're in a disaster, is to find a safe place. And make sure you're secure before you try to help other folks. You can't go help somebody else if you're not okay. So in any important disaster, the first decision you have to make is, where is a safe place for me? So if that's a tornado, the safest place may be in the basement of your house, in your closet, or in your bathtub. But you need to know what is the best practice for any circumstance based upon where you live. I mean, you're much more likely in Atlanta to be impacted by a tornado than a flood. So I'd rather you knew what to do. I'd like for you to know what to do in all of the circumstances. But it's more likely that you would have a significant wind or storm event in Atlanta than some other places. So with self-preservation, getting somewhere safe. Who else? You've asked them.
In the face of a natural disaster, would you take charge like you did during the most recent ice storm?
It works like this. In the face of a national disaster or significant event, if it's in the city of Atlanta, I typically take control and then partner with the governor of the state. it's not in the city of Atlanta. Then first the local government kicks in. And then if the local government does not work, then the state government, typically in the form of the National Guard, can offer help and support. But local governments carry the lion's share of the responsibility. And so a mayor sends a signal up the chain. So first you would ask for help from the governor, and then you would ask for federal help. Yes, the head of the team.
Good evening, Mayor Reed. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing okay.
What precautions do you take as mayor to keep school children in the city of Atlanta safe from natural disasters?
That's a good question. Well, one precaution I take is to build a police force and fire department that work and are appropriately staffed. So, today we have 1,900 police officers, which means I have the ability to deploy more officers faster in the event of an emergency. We have 4 people on every fire truck, so that means when someone pulls up to an emergency related to young people or families, you actually have someone that's equipped to deal with your problem. So that wasn't the case before I had this job. So you had fire trucks operating with less than 4 people on them. And you had a police force that was not appropriately staffed it wasn't appropriately staffed for a city of our size. So what I do really is to fund and build out a public safety effort. One of the things I've done is to fund and raise money for a center called the Video Integration Center. And what that center does is monitor more than 1,500 video cameras all throughout the city. So that gives us eyes all through the city of Atlanta, and that network is constantly expanding. And the next thing that I'm going to do is to take that video capability and place it in our schools. So in the event someone was going to one of our campuses to try to harm kids, we would be able to see what was happening real time, and then dispatch police officers there on a faster basis.
What facilities do you have available to house thousands of Atlanta citizens if a natural disaster happens?
I've got a number of them. Obviously, we have 33 recreation centers in the city of Atlanta that really are all over the city. We've got an airport that's pretty big. We have an old convention center that's on the campus of the airport. It's in excess of 100,000 square feet. I've got the Georgia World Congress Center that in an emergency or a national disaster is one of the biggest facilities in our state. It's in excess of 1 million square feet. Until a year and a half ago, I had a building called City Hall East that is 2 million square feet. So there are a number of places, and to give you some sense of how big it is, City Hall East, every floor was an acre.
Wow.
Every floor. So in an emergency, I have some pretty large facilities. I've got a Georgia Dome. It can seat 71,400 people. I've got Phillips Arena that can seat more than 17,000 people. So if there was an emergency and I needed to secure large groups of people, downtown Atlanta would be the place most capable of doing that. And there's no other place with this kind of capability in the state.
And finally, during a natural during a natural disaster, what do you do to maintain calmness in the city of Atlanta?
I remain calm. I think that during natural disasters or challenging events, people look to their leader. And I remain calm, and I go to work, and I stay at work. During the snow and ice event that occurred, it was once in the 25 year snow and ice storm. I probably slept maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. I was on television 5 to 7 times a day, because I was communicating to people what we were doing and letting them know that that me and my team were working on their problem and asking folks to stay off of the street and stay home. But an essential characteristic of a leader is to be calm and focused during challenging times.
Thank you.
And I try to do that every day. Okay, I've got two more questions, and I've got to go.
Yes, sir. They're going to continue researching. When they leave here today, they have to work on a project in order to come up with a solution that's for a real problem. So is there any area that you can think of that are maybe trouble spots, or even maybe something that the residents could do better, something that could give them an idea to go and find a solution? You sound like you're pretty prepared, but they have to find a problem.
I think we actually have this, but I think the reverse warning system, if we could have our residents communicate information that we may not know to the city faster, information is verifiable about something that's going on in a part of the city, that will be very helpful. So as opposed to me finding out about flooding after it's damaged 20 homes, some technology that let me know that
It's possible.
as soon as an event was becoming problematic,
Okay.
that would be very helpful to me.
That's good to know.
Thank you. That's great.
Young lady on the right.
Have you considered using shipping containers to help the citizens of Atlanta be safer during natural disasters?
Using shipping containers. The answer is no. Yes.
What does the answer get the most
I don't know how the floods and tornadoes are devised. I don't have the answer to that question. Yes.
What is the safest building in the city of Atlanta to take cover during the natural disaster?
Wow, that's a very good question. The safest building in the city of Atlanta to take cover during a natural disaster. I don't know about that one. I would probably say the airport. Just because you have so many capabilities at the airport. And it's built to such high standards all the way around. So I'd probably say the airport. It's got deep basements. Because it has a lot of underground rail. So that's pretty deep. But that's a terrific question. So somebody else on this side.
What do you do after a natural disaster happens? How do you prepare? Repair?
You do an assessment of the damage that has been caused by the event. And then you start with what's caused the greatest damage, and you go down the line. Yes. Yeah.
I read that a company proposed to protect Houston, Texas from a natural disaster by putting it in a dome. Do you think this is a realistic option for cities that experience many natural disasters, or do you just think it's science fiction?
I don't call too many things science fiction because science moves so fast. And something that you can think is silly comes true. They come true after you die. So I don't really call people's ideas dumb. I don't believe that that's financially viable. And I think that there are other methods that are less intrusive and costly that we can do to guard against those kind of events. Yes. We definitely have evacuation plans, and you can find out by communicating with Ann Torres, and she can place you in contact with the WASI. The WASI is something that I chair. It's called the Urban Area Security Initiative. And so it's the 10-county group that
so much.
I'm so proud of you all. I'm so excited that you all have an interest in robotics. And the reason that I wanted to take time to visit with you all today is I really respect you all really turning your interest and your focus into math, sciences, technology, engineering, and doing something that's really special. It's going to give you great career opportunities, but it's also going to significantly contribute to the communities that you live in. We need more math, scientists, and teachers. And you all ought to be lifted up and praised as much as anybody who plays basketball or football or sports or sings or dances or raps. So I'm so proud of you guys. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.